Hey, Vinyl Community, Jeff back again. Let's do part 2 of this amazing haul. In my opinion, amazing. You may say, oh, that's all a bunch of garbage. You don't need to be buying that. But no, this is the kind of stuff that I hope to find when I go to stores. It's the kind of stuff that's in my sweet spot from the early days that is not as prominently found, and that's a little more obscure in some ways, and just like I said, not as often found. And so when I went to Grey Cat's Music, which they gave me this bag, as a lot of places do. And maybe I should have. My wife was saying you should buy T-shirts from the stores you're going to. Not all places have T-shirts. Some places have this. I picked up the record stop that I went to before. They gave me a paper bag, but they had these bags. But I'm thinking the bags they had were probably record store day, and maybe they weren't their own place. But this place had one that was their own place. So this is neat to have from a collection there. But that's where we're talking. Went there. Downtown Charleston area, small part of town. So we're talking about this. Now we're going into the second bit of the haul that I found. I found about 12 albums or so. Yeah, it was a lot of good stuff. And I probably put back half a dozen, and I probably ignored, due to price, another half a dozen that, so if I had unlimited money, I could have went in there and bought even more. They just had so much what I consider prime stuff. And again, these are not like grails, and these are not like worth a lot. They're just amazing finds that I don't see in the wild that much. Alcatrazz, disturbing the piece. That's something else. So Alcatrazz's second album, 1985. So out goes Yngwie, in comes Steve Vai, and we have the second Alcatrazz album. So yeah, it's just in such great condition, just minor wear. And again, like I mentioned in the last video, pretty much everything in the store must be cleaned with one of those ultrasonic machines, because everything looked minty fresh. I didn't have this poured out. So there you go. Yeah, got the insert with the lyrics and the... Look at that young Steve Vai. Anyway, yes, so I have the first Alcatrazz album. Now I have the second Alcatrazz album. And so, yeah, these are, in my opinion, the prime stuff, the first couple albums, because of the guitar heroes they had in there. They went on to do a lot of great stuff. But I definitely won the first two. Now I have the first two, and then I'll just pick up anything. And again, I don't really ever see that one out there very much. So, as mentioned, that Alcatrazz album, out was Malmsteen, who appeared on the first Alcatrazz album. In came Steve Vai. But what was Malmsteen up to? He was up to Rising Force. Now, short, he had a solo album out, instrumental solo album out prior to this. But 1985, same year that album comes out, he releases the first full band Rising Force with the vocalist and all that on here. So I think this is probably one of his Rising Force albums that I literally had in the 80s, because it was in 85 later that I kind of shifted gears musically. But yes, so this is one it's funny because I did see a copy of this one at the store in Somerville that I bought all that other stuff at a week before, but price-wise, it was more expensive there, so I turned it down. I said, nah, I want it, but I don't want to pay that much for it. I forget how much it was. It wasn't outrageous, but I'm thinking it was probably closer to $30, whereas this one was not anywhere near that. So, yes, I added this to the stack because everybody needs a little of the early Malmsteen at least. So, there you go. Grab that one. And then this was another one of those moments where, because I don't see this band in the wild hardly ever. And when I do, if I recall ever, it tends to be expensive or in bad. I don't know. I just don't see it. And so when I saw the first House of Lords album, I was excited. So this is House of Lords, 1988. Greg Giuffria, formerly of Angel. Then he went and did Giuffria for a couple albums, and then he did House of Lords. This has got Lanny Cordola, one of my favorite guitar players of the day. Chuck Wright on bass. Ken Mary, absolutely one of my favorite drummers of all time on drums. This, to me, is like the all-star cast. Perfect lineup. James Christian on vocals. Just the heyday. Great stuff. I love all House of Lords stuff. Even this, I've been keeping up with them with the modern stuff. Haven't been buying the vinyl. This is actually my first vinyl release that I purchased by them. Except for I do have that anthology that came out a couple years ago. Anyway, so yeah, this is where it just all started, and this is just primo. And the band has bounced around. Ken Mary's been in and out of the band. You know, all these guys have changed. I'm not sure if Lanny did any more albums. Chuck's been in and out, but and even Greg Giuffria eventually left, and they went on with other players. But when I saw this album and it was in great condition, I just was like, I was just freaked out. So yeah, had to grab that one. And then this next one again I'm just like, wow, I don't see this band in the wild at all. And I've never, ever seen their first album. What is this? 1983's The First Rock Goddess album. The only album I had back in the day was 80. Okay, they also did 83. They did Hell Hath No Fury. That's the album I had back when I was a teenager. That's the one I currently have now. They had that there too. The interesting thing about having that there is they had both editions. The one that I have, which has a U.S. cover of the three girls in the chair, sitting on the big chair. And they also had at the same store a copy of the other cover, which has the Medusa-looking character on the cover. I almost bought that just because it was different, but I thought, with all the stuff I was already accumulating, I'm like, I can't afford to buy just to have a different cover. But I definitely had to buy the first album from this one, because I don't even think I've ever heard it. I probably have it digitally at somewhere on my collection, but I don't think I've ever paid much attention to it. So, yeah, I was super thrilled to find this, and like I said, tempted to buy the other ones, but did not. So there you go, Rock Goddess, the first album. And then this one, now before I get to what I consider it's the most expensive thing I bought, probably the major find at that store. Before I get to that, I'm going to cover this one. This is one that I found, and it was under $10. And anyway, it's the first Uli Roth and the Electric Sun. They had this, and I was just like, wow, that's really cool. I never see his solo stuff out and about. I don't think I've ever seen it in the wild. And this is a radio promo. It was a gold stamped promo, and it was in great condition. So I was like, okay, I'm going to get that just because it was so cheap. Anyway, yeah, I grabbed this. And then the big find, which caused me to, I was really toying with buying this. Again, it wasn't super expensive, but it was more than I just hate buying used records for, over $30. And I just was like, and I looked it up online, and I found that it was not cheaper online at all. It was definitely priced below what I could find on Discogs. And the fact that the week before this, I found the first album by this band, I felt like it was like a sign. Now you can have the second album, the only other album by this band. I found the other Vinnie, Vincent, and Vincent album. And I really toyed with it because I was like, it's just, I was in this mode of, I want to buy everything that's under $20, and this one was over, and I thought, well, I put back a couple of those other albums, and I thought, I'm going to get this because, again, I don't see his stuff in the wild, and when I do, it's either really rough or really expensive. And while this may have been out of what I wanted to spend, it was not really expensive. And it was cheaper than I could find online. And it was in amazing condition. It has the insert and everything. It just was in amazing condition. Now, when I showed the first album, a guy pointed out something, just so you don't, in case you don't know. First album had a different singer. I think the band was the same, Dana and Bobby were the same people. But on this album, we get Mark Slaughter comes in on vocals. And so I don't know what all happened. I don't know what all went down. I'm sure the story out there and people know it. But essentially after this album, out was Vinnie, and the other three guys went on to form Slaughter. And they went on to have quite a bit of more success, I think, than Vinnie Vincent did. But All Systems Go was the only other Vinnie Vincent album that I needed after finding his first album the week before in Somerville. It was kind of like a sign that I had to get it to complete that collection, and now I do have it. So this was the major score and the most expensive thing of the day. Again, it was fairly reasonable considering how these are priced nowadays. But I was excited. I was thrilled. When I came out of that store, I was just like, I had found all kinds of gems from the 80s that I just was like it was such a great day. While at the other stores, I found a couple here, a little bit there, a little bit there. This was like the big haul for me. And anyway, I just was thrilled to have it, and I'm glad to have this one and all the other ones, and that was all for this one. That's it for this one, though. I'll be back with other newer stuff that's coming in the mail. Rock on and rock hard.